Let's get into it. Gave that computer of yours a smack again.
Yeah.
That's what I do. We got the wife here.
Hello.
As always, most of the time. More than often now. I like it. I like it a lot. But Katt Williams calls out Joe Rogan. And I love it. Now, you've heard me listening to this interview, this Katt Williams interview.
Yeah.
And it is absolutely wild. Now, I did a video about Katt Williams. Let me just switch over to this right now. So if you guys don't understand where the beef comes from between Katt Williams and Kevin Hart and the rest of the industry, you got to watch this video. It's called Joe Rogan Exposes the Shocking Journey of Katt Williams standing up to Hollywood, because basically he started calling out the Illuminati by name. It was wild, but you got to watch that to really understand some stuff that we're going to get into. Now, in that interview, Katt Williams decides to call out Joe Rogan.
Oh, really?
But he doesn't just call him out. He calls out 6 other comedians as well. He doesn't name them, but we're going to name them here today. That's what we're gonna do. Just what I think. I'm not saying that they're not funny, but I think I know who he's talking about when he says this. So let's jump over here and let's get into this first clip.
Def Jam, because hip hop was a fad at one time, and hip hop ain't gonna last. And why are you doing that? And that's how it was for blue comedy. If you were a comedian that cussed, you were ridiculed by the mainstream comedy geist. That would be like me being on Joe Rogan. Joe don't want me on there. I need to be on Shannon. Joe got 6 comedians that never been funny. He want to push out.
Hold on.
But that's really how it is. I'm so sorry I'm competitive. You and that.
I'm so sorry I'm competitive. 6 comedians that have never been funny, okay? Now, here's what I think. And people talk about this. There are guys like me. There's guys like Comedy Enforcement. There are other channels that break down podcasts, little situations that happen, little beefs that happen in the podcast community. Too Lazy to Try. There's a bunch of them. So they've talked about this at length, and a lot of video titles will come up, and I don't believe this, but I understand where they're coming from. How Joe Rogan ruined comedy. And here's the thing. I'm going to give you a little window into why Joe Rogan does what he does with the comedians that he does it with, okay? But here's what I think. When Katt Williams mentions that, he's talking about Bert Kreischer, for sure, right? He's talking about Tom Segura. He's talking about Ari Shaffir. He's talking about Mark Normand. And he's talking about Brendan Schaub. That's who he's talking about, for sure. And possibly Andrew Schultz. But Andrew Schultz is hilarious. That's what I think, at least. But the reason that I'm saying this is because there are certain people who get onto the podcast a lot. As you know, Brendan Schaub has the most appearances out of anybody. And that's what kind of propels their career. So that's what Katt Williams means when he says, like, 6 people that have never been funny. They're funny, but they got to where they were a little faster because of Joe Rogan.
Yeah.
Because of being his friend, getting on the podcast, and having all this amazing stuff happen from being on the podcast. So it's maybe Katt doesn't think they're funny. Some of them are funny. I like Tom Segura. I've played Tom Segura for you before because I was like, you're going to like Tom Segura. And you did.
Yeah.
You actually did. One of his first specials, you liked it a lot. And then there's Ari Shaffir and guys like that. It's very interesting. This little, it's like an ecosystem, right? But I'm going to go on to play another clip because a lot of people have talked about this with Joe Rogan's podcast, talking about calling him a gatekeeper. And I always say he's not a gatekeeper. He's a guy that has a podcast. And he's going to talk to whoever he wants to talk to.
Yeah.
It's not really gatekeeping, per se. But Katt Williams actually... People didn't catch this one. They caught that one clip, but they didn't catch this other clip. He's kind of bringing Joe up in the same conversation as gatekeepers. Joe Rogan and Kevin Hart. So, we're just going to play this really quick. This is like some real Too Lazy to Try, like podcast type of content that you're not used to. Don't worry, I'll lead you through it.
Def Comedy Jam, could that, in today, 24, 25, 26, could we see that again?
They've already announced it. It's already going. You didn't know? Yeah, Kevin Hart purchased it, so he's now doing Comedy View. That happened at the same time that they gave DC Young Fly Hollywood Squares.
Where?
Yeah, because they tell you that there's no gatekeepers, but we keep seeing the same people open the gate. Didn't Kevin open the gate and let Tiffany in? Ain't he now opening it up for, don't such and such open the gate? What do you mean ain't no gatekeepers? There's 100 gates out here.
Would you?
Everyone I've seen got a keeper.
Would you have wanted to do Comic View or Def Comedy Jam? Would you have wanted?
So that's what I'm talking about there. He kind of touches on the fact that these people are gatekeepers and that they're only letting in certain people. You know, from Kevin Hart, you know, letting in Tiffany Haddish. She's not funny. She's really not. She's not really a comedian. Yeah, she has one joke where she queefs on stage. And, yeah, she can do it on demand, apparently.
Oh, that's gross.
Yeah, it's pretty gross. But she's not funny. So there is a little bit of gatekeeping when I look at that section, but I never think that of Joe Rogan. I always think that he's just talking to people that he thinks are funny and that he actually likes.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. Here's what a lot of people don't realize, and I wish I could find the clip, but I can't. But Joe Rogan said something years ago when he was starting out in comedy, when he was first at the Comedy Store, and he was just he wasn't a regular yet at the Comedy Store, right? And he wanted to be really badly. So he performed in front of the owner, and her name was Mitzi Shore, right? And what this other comedian did for Joe is when he was on stage telling jokes, he made sure to sit beside Mitzi and laugh really, really hard.
Oh, that's nice.
Really, really hard. Like he's, and he was laughing really hard. And he let Joe know, he's like, I did that for you. And he's like, thank you, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, don't worry. One day you're going to be in my position and you're going to do the same thing for some guy. So the other guys can come up and get their chance to do things.
Yeah.
And that is what Joe is doing with these people who are also his friends. He's like, this is my opportunity to push these guys forward.
Yeah.
And a lot of people in the world may not think they're funny, but I think they're funny, and I'm going to make sure the world gets to see them. That's what I think is going on. That's what I think.
I think that's a very nice take.
Yeah, exactly.
That's good.
Yeah, exactly. It's just because I'm privy to that information. I've watched so much Rogan content. So he tells that story, and it's a very heartfelt story that he has. Because it was like somebody did that for him. Mm-hmm. Because Mitzi was like, that's it, you're a regular. And that was like, he was a TV star at the time, already making money. And that was like the biggest thing to him. He was like, oh my God, I get to be a regular at the Comedy Store. Like, this is everything to me.
That's nice.
And somebody did that for him. A nice comedian did that for him, you know? So I think that's what he's trying to do with these guys. So they may not be the greatest comedians in the world, but if your friend has the biggest podcast in the world and he decides, hey guys, we're all going to do it together, that's it.
Yep.
Listen, this podcast becomes number one, right? One day it becomes number one with all the plans I have and all the adjustments that are going to happen as we get a bigger studio and more stuff. You become the number one podcast producer in the world. Too bad. Sorry, Jamie. This is the way it goes. Like, whatever. There's going to be people who might deserve it more, but sorry, this is the situation.
Yeah.
That's it. It's the way it happens. Like, you know, you do what you can for your people, you know?
Yeah, that's true.
I don't know. I'm gonna start doing stand up and you know, getting venues and stuff. And if more, you know, my good friend since I was 10, I think he's the funniest guy in the world. If he wants to come, yeah, well, guess what? There's a bunch of other people I know who probably deserve it more. They work harder. I don't care. He's gonna get it.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna be like, yeah, get on stage, do it. Do 10 minutes. He won't even know you're only supposed to get 5 minutes or 3 minutes. I'll be do 10 minutes. You're gonna do 10 minutes. That's it. He's not gonna know. Like, whatever. You do what you can for your people. But all in all, the Katt Williams interview was very interesting. He called out a lot of people, and nobody was able to say that he was lying about anything he said. Nobody.
Yeah.
Nobody came out and said you lied about this or you lied about that. It was a very interesting interview. The interview, when I saw it, was at 8 million views. It is now at 35 million views.
Wow. That's amazing.
Because he's telling the truth. He's telling the truth about a lot of stuff. And his beef comes from, you know, there's a thing with all these black comedy actors. They all wear dresses.
Yeah.
And Katt Williams never wanted to do it. And he made sure to never do it. Dave Chappelle never wanted to do it, so he got pushed out of a movie role not pushed out, but he was made to seem like he was giving trouble to the directors and stuff because he never did it. And then Kevin Hart came along because he's kind of next in line as like people getting bigger and bigger, even though Kevin Hart's never been funny ever at all, not even remotely. But he came along, he was like, he knew what they did, and he was like, I'll never wear the dress. Like, he called it out. I'm never gonna wear the dress. And then he got on Saturday Night Live and he wore the dress.
Wow. And
they were like, what's going on? And then his career like skyrocketed. And he had this comedy tour that was like $100 million and blah, blah, blah. Shoe deals, lots of movies with The Rock, all this stuff.
Yeah.
So that's Katt Williams' beef with Kevin Hart. And then he had a beef with Joe Rogan. And now I'm going to let you know about, I just got crazy deja vu, insane deja vu. Like I've done this before. It's very, very weird.
It's too close to your other video.
Yeah, maybe. Joe Rogan actually, but the part of bringing up Joe Rogan's response
is
what gave me deja vu. That was weird. But Joe Rogan actually did respond. Somebody showed this clip on the internet. A gentleman named at It's a Vibe Sound has a podcast, has a good channel. It's pretty great. He showed this clip, and then Joe Rogan responded, and he said, I love Katt. He's like, he's one of my favorite comics, and I'd love to have him on. We talk about him all the time, which is not true, but he's talked about him at least three times throughout the thousands of episodes he has. He goes, if he's down, I'll make it happen. So it's very interesting. We might see a Katt Williams interview. Which would be pretty rough because Katt Williams will say the same thing to Joe Rogan.
I was going to say he's already covered most of it.
Yeah. What do you
mean?
So
I don't know. Like, what more would he say?
Oh, Katt Williams has much more to say.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it never
Didn't
stops.
Wasn't it like over 3 hours?
Oh, yeah. It was 2 hours, 46 minutes.
Wow.
But Katt Williams, he has so much to say. So much to say, so much to touch on. In this interview, he didn't even touch on the Illuminati. He usually talks about the Illuminati and these people and what they do behind closed doors. He didn't even touch on that stuff.
That's crazy.
He was basically just touching on every single person that spoke harshly about him throughout his hiatus in comedy. So
I like that Joe responded like that. It seems very classy.
Yeah.
Whereas all the other people are just like,
oh, they're pissed.
Yeah.
Oh, they're pissed.
And like, and their responses seem very, I don't know, like petty, like not smart, not funny, not witty, not well thought out. Just knee-jerk reaction. I'm mad at this guy.
For someone telling the truth.
Yeah. It's just like,
hard.
if these people are comedians, you think they would like think about something to say and like roast him or something.
The thing is, it's Katt Williams, and nobody likes to do this, but Katt Williams is up there with Dave Chappelle. He's one of the greatest comics ever. He has 19 specials. Unlike Dave, he's done it all independently. There's no anybody doing anything for him, which means that he's made a gross amount of money just doing these specials. Done it 19 times. That's unheard of. No one has ever done this many before, ever. I think, like nobody's hit. I don't even, but 12 is the most I've heard from comics. So Katt's done 19. It's pretty insane. So you can't roast Katt.
I guess it would just, you'd start something bad.
It would be insane. If one of them decided to say anything like roasting him, it would be nuts. He would make videos. He would do other interviews. It would be, you don't want to do that with him. I did that episode, the other episode that you're talking about, where he's roasting this radio show host.
Oh, really?
And it was crazy what he did to this woman.
Oh, no.
It was so bad that her husband saw him later and pulled a gun on him. Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah.
The poor lady.
Yeah. She said she was traumatized.
Oh, no.
Yeah. It was bad. It was bad.
Wow.
Yeah, that's what he does.
Yeah.
He comes from Comic View, BET Comic View. You know, I always tell you about how my mom always had me watching stand-up comedy. It's from BET Comic View. It's like very black, very southern, very theatrical, very vulgar, just very wild comedy. So that's what he comes from. And these other guys who are like rich and kind of fat, you know, don't really get opposed much. They're not ready for that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So Joe really has no other choice but to respond like this. Like in reality.
Yeah. When Kevin Hart responded, it was just like sad. He just like plugged his new Netflix trailer.
That's it. He tried to shove the fact that he has a movie in his face.
Yeah.
And it's not just sad because he plugged the movie. It's sad because he's almost trying to say doing this movie is better than stand-up. That's what he's really saying. And it's a known thing in stand-up that's the thing. You shouldn't want to go and do movies. You shouldn't want to go and do sitcoms. Like, you can, but stand-up is the thing. It's the art form. The rest of it is just, like Joe Rogan, he did Fear Factor. He's like, I had FU money. And then he never did anything again. He just did stand-up and the podcast. That was it. You know, because it's the thing. It should be the thing. It's sad when a comedian wants to go off and do like a sitcom and stuff like that. It's a sad thing. It really is. It's sad because they could do so much. Like Eddie Murphy. Eddie Murphy was arguably one of the greatest comedians ever, and he did like a couple of specials that are the highest grossing ever, and it was amazing. And then he stopped and he just became a movie star. And it's sad because he could have made so many more specials. It would have been hilarious. So,
but he's also like, how do you say no to making all that money from movies?
Exactly. But see, it's weird in Eddie Murphy's case because his one special, I think it was Raw or Delirious, made $50 million.
Really?
So it's like, if he just kept doing that,
wow.
Like right now, if
It
he
would
did
be
a
like
comedy
equivalent.
special, Netflix would probably pay him $150 million. I wouldn't doubt it at all. If they paid Chappelle 50, if they're paying Katt like 10 at times, 10, 5, whatever, they would give him $150 million.
Interesting.
Because he's still incredible. And he's the only person that could really, that you might say is better than Dave Chappelle.
But he doesn't do it anymore.
But he doesn't do it anymore, so it's hard to say that. Dave Chappelle's still at it. He's mastering it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's weird.
That's crazy.
One time he did a stand-up special, Eddie Murphy. He did stand-up, but he did it at his house, which has a theater, and which is insane. And he did it for Dave Chappelle and Chris Rock.
Wow.
And like some of their writers and stuff.
Like just for fun?
Yeah. And they were like, he's still incredible.
Wow.
They're like, he's the best. They're like, it's over for everybody if he comes back.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Like Joe will have to stick to the podcast. It's done. It's done. He'll just be the manager of his comedy club. It's over. Bert Kreischer's done. No more arenas.
Yeah. As soon as you said like 6 comedians that aren't funny, in my head, I was thinking Bert Kreischer.
Immediately. Of course you're thinking Bert Kreischer. He's not funny. He has one story that he has to tell all the time.
Yeah.
I'm very sorry to say all this. He has one story he has to say all the time. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's the machine story.
Yeah, I was going to say the monster. I couldn't remember the name of
it.
it.
Yeah, it's always the machine story. He always has to take off his shirt.
Yeah, I was going to say he takes off his shirt and he like yells and screams.
Yeah. He's like a caricature of himself.
Yeah. And he's like drunk all the time.
Yeah,
Like
definitely.
seriously has some like issues he needs to deal with.
Yeah, definitely. He has 2 daughters and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then Tom Segura's gone off the deep end. A lot of these guys, I was just watching a video that was talking about this. They've kind of, like I will say, as this podcast grows, because it's not always going to be Joe Rogan clips and stuff on YouTube. It's going to grow, and there's going to be voices and people, and there's going to be other things going on. Especially the show on X, it's all going to change slowly. But I'll always be like, this happened because of Joe Rogan. I will always have this picture. I'll be like, it happened because of him. They forgot that it happened because of him.
Yeah.
They don't it seems like they don't process anymore that it happened because of him, because he's so nice. He's so generous. And he doesn't say that. Because, what kind of friend would you be? Like,
no.
You're only here because of me. Like, he's never going to say that.
No, he doesn't want to like keep people under his thumb.
But you have to. But exactly. But you should be able to remember that.
Yeah.
You should be able to remember, hey, I'm only here because I went on the biggest podcast ever. And like the guy keeps having me on. But just because.
Yeah.
Like there's no reason for it. He doesn't have to do it.
It's true.
He can talk to anybody.
Yeah.
He could be like, hey, Donald Trump. Hey, Joe Biden. Hey, Barack Obama. He can talk to anybody. Hey, Michelle Obama.
Because as we figured out, he's bigger than all the news.
Yeah, exactly. He can talk to anybody. He'd be like Anderson Cooper, like whoever he wants.
Yeah.
Anybody in the world. He can find a cartel leader and be like, I want to talk to you.
Yeah.
And they'll be like, okay.
True.
Like it doesn't matter.
Okay.
But he chooses to do it for his friends, and a lot of them forget that. I think they gradually let it get to their head a little bit. So that's what happens.
Yeah.
So hopefully we get to see a Katt Williams interview.
Yeah, that'd be crazy.
Yeah, that'd be really good. Yeah, that'd be really
And then
good.
we can talk about the Illuminati.
Oh man, I can't wait for that. But I just wanted to sum that up in that whole thing. Again, check out this video. It is a great video. That's me.
That's a good face.
Wow, right? That's a good face. Check out this video. Joe Rogan exposes the shocking journey of Katt Williams standing up to Hollywood. It's all about what Katt Williams did in order to get blackballed the way he did. And I really do hope that this is him bouncing back. I hope he comes back. Because it's not fair to get blackballed because you stood up to, like, it's such a...
Yeah, that's horrible.
Yeah, it's the worst. I don't know. But anyway... No research from the wife on this one. This is just something I wanted to explain to her.
Yeah.
Like some guys,
you did the research.
Yeah, some guys like to just like talk about cars. Like, oh, you gotta listen to this car thing. I don't have anything like that. This is what I talk to my wife about. This is what I force her to listen to. Thank you for doing it.
I always love it.
All right, guys, share the episode. Forgot to say it at the beginning again, and that's okay. Other than that, we are out.
Bye.